Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. A lot of interesting NFL storylines tonight here. I'm going to talk about here Bill Belichick, second interview with the Atlanta Falcons. I mentioned the Falcons will be a good fit early on because of the Arthur Blank situation, what I read about him. Now he's scheduled to have his second interview this weekend. Going to talk about that. Plus, Mike McCarthy. Now he's going to stay. I mean, not really a big surprise there. Plus, listen, Howard Stern, of all people. I've got a bite here from him. I have to say I agree with Howard Stern on his take on the Peacock channel showing these NFL playoff games and wanting the general public to subscribe to Peacock here and what that could lead to and what we should do about that. Plus, talk a little bit about these games this weekend. Could be some interesting upsets there. I'll be back here in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. So looks like it took me a few days. I think I'm actually technically live now on Instagram. Still trying to figure all this stuff out, folks, here. Okay. Now, so anyways, it looks like this weekend, Bill Belichick is scheduled to have his second interview with the Atlanta Falcons here. Now, I've got this article here off of this is off of NFL.com, and I want to say, this is off NFL.com in Rappaport. So Belichick is slated to have a second interview with the Atlanta Falcons for its head coach in Vegas and this weekend. NFL Network insider in Rappaport reported Thursday. Rappaport added, and I want to emphasize on this, folks. He added that Falcons CEO Rich McKay, General Manager Terry Fontenot, I guess that's his name. I don't care. Will be along with Arthur Blank at this weekend's meeting with Belichick. This is the second interview, comes after Belichick met one-on-one with Arthur Blank. So that's crucial. So it's just not Belichick meeting with Arthur Blank only. The reason why I bring that up is we all know the main reason he has left the Patriots because of his drafting and wanting to take over the scouting and all that nonsense, which I said it was a disaster. So it's looking like now Rich McKay and the management staff meeting with Belichick, they're trying to iron out, what they expect of him is basically just to be the coach here. It's not a terrible fit. For one thing, Arthur Blank, I said this a week and a half ago, he had been courting Bill Belichick. He made the comment since the Bill Parcells days, since the Jet days, since just before he signed. We're talking 20 plus years ago, since before he signed with the Patriots originally back in 2000, during that little bit of a debacle there where the Jets, he was still under contract with the Jets. They had to trade for Belichick and whatnot. So he's 81 also. Him and Jerry Jones are the same age. Blank is one of the better owners in the NFL. Unlike the NFL and Peacock with the greed, Arthur Blank sells their refreshments at standard pricings. It's not stadium prices. He's the only owner that I know to do that. Plus, talked about, listen, well above average offensive line. They have the left tackle they need. They have skilled players. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robertson. So they have the offensive line. They basically have everything offensively but a quarterback. They need help at the cornerback position. Need a tackle class. Campbell's like 37, 38 years old, which makes him 100 and football years. The help at corner, the back end help, that is what Belichick does at an elite level. Okay. Now, there's a few other options here. So this is not a bad, they're sitting at about $30 million in cap room, give or take. They have the 8th pick. Okay. I was looking back at this Russell Wilson story, which is sitting out there. By the way, OddsShark, these guys, I like keeping up with this. Now the Falcons, by the way, are favoring not minus 300 to land Belichick. Okay. But anyways, so yeah, it's not a bad setup here. Like I said earlier, with Russell Wilson, for example, okay, he's likely going to be a free agent. Now this would be in June when this cut is made here. He's 36 years old. I could see a situation where maybe they can sign him for like a Baker Mayfield type of contract, where Mayfield has got a $4 million deal, which is about what he's worth, give or take. Maybe if they sign Mayfield, double that and add some incentives. I wouldn't give him no $40 million. So do something like that. Give him a prove-it contract, because basically the Broncos, and I'm tying all this together because you're looking at a 70-something-year-old Bill Belichick who wants that 15. Mind you, folks, he wants them 15 wins so he can pass Don Shula. Him and Don Shula have a beef going back 25, 30 years ago. Don Shula's obviously passed away. He called him a cheater years and years ago. You know, the former Dolphins coach here. I mean, that's well documented. But he wants to get that 15 wins so he can pass Don Shula. You're in one of the weakest divisions in the NFL, the NFC South, not the strongest quarterback division by no means. You've already placing coordinators there with the Saints. You got Baker Mayfield with Tampa, and then you've got a total disaster dumpster fire owner there with the Carolina Panthers. There's some promise possibly with that quarterback there. But you look at a guy like a Wilson that doesn't have the trade clause. I think he'll probably get cut. But it's weird. It's going to be around June 2nd. So my guess is maybe they'll try to talk to, or perhaps hypothetically talk to his agent here, the Falcons organization. I could see something like that, and taking that 8th pick and turn around and draft the quarterback, because Wilson's 36. He's on the back end, and let these two quarterbacks compete it out, whether it be a Jalen Daniels out of LSU or Michael Penix. People might say, well, that's too high. Listen, if it's a quarterback you want him, you get him, okay? They have the 8th pick in the first round. They had the 8th pick in the second round. They have an extra 4th-round pick because of the Calvin Ridley trade there. Because of the Calvin Ridley trade, they got about $30 million. You can flex. You could be flexible with that. Belichick, go out and get some defensive pieces through free agency or the draft here, and you get one of these young quarterbacks and maybe have him compete with a Russell Wilson here, and just kind of live off that defense. That would be a good setup, I think. I think that wouldn't be a bad setup there for, and Pickle says maybe they could trade down and get a Bo Nix. Bo Nix, to me, it depends on what your scouts say. So, again, this is going to be a situation. That's why I read that, where he's not going to be the guy. Okay? My guess is it's going to be McKay in that scouting, which is not bad. They missed on Ritter, but I think Ritter was like a late third, fourth round pick. He wasn't really a high draft pick type of player. Plus, they had Matt Ryan, who was on the back end of his career. That's why the Arthur Smith thing simply did not work out here. But he'll make that defense look tight. They won't look nothing like the Eagles. Now, I understand there's going to be some coordinator changes with the Eagles. I think they're going to keep Sirianni from everything I'm hearing and reading. It's going to be kind of similar to the McCartney situation. But you're not going to see this Falcon team have a bunch of missed tackles like the Eagles did against the Tampa Bay Bucks on Monday night. That's what I know Bill Belichick brings to the table. I know it's going to be weird seeing him in the South and in the dome. You're so used to seeing him in a hoodie. It's like the weather we've had here in Nashville. By the way, folks, Nashville had 7.8 inches of snow by Monday. 7.8 inches of snow. For those of you who live here in the Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Middle Tennessee area, we had a big snow event. I thought it was going to be that bad. I measured close to 7 inches out in my back little patio here by my apartment here. But anyways, I know it's going to be weird seeing Belichick sit on the sideline like that with that hoodie, or not without a hoodie, inside of a dome. So they could probably work out something. Maybe you want to get a Bo Nix, see what the scouts say about a Bo Nix. I'm not in love with Bo Nix. I think he's more of like a Jared Stidham type. He's kind of on that Mac Jones type of level. Penix, on the other hand, he's got a higher ceiling. I think he would really fall in well. There was one report about Atlanta that I think was nonsense, but Mel Kiper did say that the Falcons would give up that 8th pick for Justin Fields, which you've got to give a 5th-year option to Fields, which is good. That starts to get pretty high. When you get that 5th-year option, now you're starting to get into the 25, 28, closer to $30 million range for a guy. Yeah, McDaniels is pretty good. I think he'll bring Josh McDaniels to work with him. I wouldn't do that with Fields. Fields is just not worth. I just do not believe that report. There may be somebody gullible enough and stupid enough to do that. But I know because Fields is from the Atlanta area. Sometimes that's not the best thing to do for a guy like that, who's had work ethic issues going back to Ohio State that was reported. Now, I saw Fields. I liked him at Ohio State, but I wouldn't go that route. If you could get a Russell Wilson, again, if Belichick makes this move, get a Russell Wilson on a prove-it contract here, maybe try to mesh him with the Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator. Not a bad play there. Something of that nature there. You can compete for this division next year. Next year, a few defensive pieces through the draft and free agency. You could add those in there. They've got some players there at the safety position. They signed, I think his name is Gates or whatever, signed a guy off of that used to play for the Bengals last year. Made some plays there. Not that bad, not a terrible defense, not as bad as some of the Atlanta defenses I've seen in the past, but they're still pretty mediocre at times, especially on the road. But if you could talk a Wilson into, if Wilson don't do it, still go with the draft and bring him in. Maybe you keep a Heineke or Ritter and compete with the young rookie sensation here. Something of that nature there. I think either one would work. Could possibly get this team 8, 9, 10 wins. That may be all you need. I want to say, 9 and 8 or something like that. Tampa's won the division this year. Okay. Kind of caught lightning in the bottle at the right time. I will say this. Tampa did get a big road win to open the season against Minnesota. Teams are buying into that defense, or the players are buying into Todd Bowles' defense. Mayfield didn't screw things up. I'm not as impressed as everybody else is with him. I think he's a very up and down player. Mayfield is. but got to give them credit. Hey, listen, they got a shot to get to the NFC Championship game. I'll talk about that game here in a little bit. Tomorrow I'll have Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. I will give you a prediction of these games as I'm breaking them down, but I'll do a little slight preview, a little bit more in depth into that today. So I can give you a little bit more in depth, so I can give Carlos some time to talk. So like I said, it's not as bad. I don't think this may be the best move for Belichick. I mean, I don't see him, and obviously McCarthy's going to stay now with Dallas. Breaking news, right? I could have told you that. Media's acting so shocked about that. You know that. Listen, folks, Jerry Jones never likes to admit he made a mistake. He puts this big release out last night, pivoting to that story, and I think I got some of it here. Like it's this big thing, and if I'm McCartney, I just wouldn't want to deal with this guy, but whatever, it is. I think it's the business that you choose, right? Okay, so this is his statement yesterday. Jerry Jones' statement on McCarthy and everything. He says, I believe this team is very close and capable of achieving our ultimate goals. Best step forward for us will be with Mount McCarthy as our head coach. There's a great benefit to continuing the team's process under Mike's leadership and head coach. There are many layers of success that have occurred this season as a result of Mike's approach. Mike has the highest regular season winning percentage of any head coach in Cowboys history, and we will dedicate ourselves in partnership with him to translating that into, let me make sure I don't want to actually just guess at what he's saying. I lost my place here. Into reaching our postseason goals. Certainly Mike's career has demonstrated postseason success at a high level. Further, our loss on Sunday is shared by everyone, not just coach, our players, our coaches, our front office, myself. Their accountability for our results. I am accountable for our results. The lens we use to evaluate Coach McCarthy is holistic. I don't know if somebody else wrote this for him. I don't think he used a $50 word like that. While we are disappointed with the result of Sunday's playoff record, I'm 100% supportive of him, our coaching ability, our goals. We will start our process of review and decision-making regarding everything that impacts our team and roster, while we're not going to address any players and extensions. Something, as bad as they got beat on defense in that game, and I'm looking at who is it? Dan Quinn? Is that the defensive coordinator there, Pickles? I can't tell you, including the Titans, how many teams are interested in Dan Quinn, a guy who was fired from Atlanta, whose teams, they got to the Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as their offensive coordinator. When Shanahan, the next year, 16, 17, whatever, goes to the 49ers, they start to get a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. A very overrated coordinator there. And quite frankly, with all those requests, interview requests, interest, they seem like that they look like a team that was out of place here. Okay. It's just run down the field, touchdown, 3 and out, get the ball back, touchdown again. And of course, you got the pick six, but would they give up 48 points? That was so lacking. That was just totally off cue there. Aaron Jones hadn't ran like that in 2 years. They give up 3 rushing touchdowns here. One thing, if you're going to be a great, consistent defense, you have to have the run in check. Okay. And they didn't have it. They didn't have it. They played off the ball. That young team went in there and just moved the ball up and down the field. 3 rushing touchdowns to Aaron Jones, looking like the guy, like I said, 2 or 3 years ago. Quinn was distracted. He looked like he was distracted in that particular game. Yeah, Pickles 3 rushing touchdowns. But as far as Jerry Jones, he will never admit he made a mistake. He's talking about the staff. He'll never let go of Dak. What they need to do is look around for another coach. I would try to get a Belichick. If it was me, I would try to get a Belichick, and I would try to negotiate something more plausible with the Dak Prescott, if not move Dak Prescott, and try to get, again, you're talking about a Jerry Jones who's 81 years old, as well as Arthur Blank, same age, to win a Super Bowl here, try to do something about that quarterback position, have a more disciplined team, or at least do something about Dak's ridiculous salary. I think he's got a year left that's coming up, and he's going to command that he's not worth, okay? You're measured on your success in the playoffs as well as the regular season. Plus, either him or Jim Harbaugh, neither one is going to work with Jerry Jones. That's why I said it'd be foolish. And, obviously you would love to get the top dogs, right? But when you're dealing with a guy like a Jerry Jones who wants to dabble, and quite frankly, he don't want anybody outshining him. He really enjoyed what I just read. He enjoyed that more than winning games. He enjoys to hear his self-talk. He enjoys to have people talk about him answering questions about the Cowboys. He said in an interview one time, talking about Jimmy Johnson. He said, listen, if I make $10 million and it gets reported, nobody cares, But if we trade a backup offensive lineman, everybody's talking about it. I'm thinking, who gives a rip about stuff like that? But he does. He did it 30 years ago at 51. He's doing it 30 years ago now at 81, So Chad says next year is the one for the Cowboys. Yeah, again, I think this team has been better than the other mediocre teams, but that's not saying much, They're slightly better. I like that slightly better than Romo. I don't think he's as much of a me guy as Romo. Romo was calling audibles to get his stats up outside the 5-yard line, to get his passing stats up, rather than just giving the ball to DeMarco Murray or whoever the running back is, Felix Jones or whatever, which killed me a lot in fantasy, but it also told me how selfish he was and how he was not really about winning. He was more about showing off his stats. Well, it worked for him, Your Dallas Cowboy quarterback didn't do nothing. One of those overrated players ever, and he's making $16 million a year calling the game for CBS, like a lot of all those former Dallas Cowboy players, Moose Johnson, Troy Aikman, at least those guys won something, right? But, it's same thing, different. I think this will probably be his last year, but who do you think Jerry Jones is going to get, Who do you think he's going to get? He's not going to get some big name guy. I'm surprised that he got McCarthy, because McCarthy had won a Super Bowl. I'm surprised McCarthy said something about, he made some comment today. If I could get it to play, I will. It was some, coach talk stuff. He seems like a decent guy. Here we go.
This we have but my message would be this: we have established a championship program. It's just not the world championship yet. We know how to win. We know how to train to win. We have the right people, but we have not crossed the threshold winning playoff games. And it's extremely disappointing to be sitting here talking about it. But I know how to win. And we will get over that threshold. I have total confidence in it, and that's why I'm standing here today. And then,
well, so that's he broke his silence per se. That was McCartney. So I was looking at it. It looked like he just left one of the buffets there in Dallas. There, He's gotten stressed out. I can tell that it was a loss. He's a little bit bigger than he normally. He's a big guy, anyways. But look a little puffy, a little bit. But we're all a little bit now this time of year. We're snowed in and stuff. It's cold outside. We eat more per se. Okay, speaking of sound bites, transitioning here in the show, not to a woman or anything. Just kidding. All right, now. Howard Stern, of all people, I was watching, reading Awful Announcements. Pretty good website. Talks about sports announcers and non-sports related announcers and how the collation with the announcing and everything of sports comes in here. Nichols says, "Hello, Albert." Yeah, Albert Hainsworth. When he would get nervous about something, you could tell that, when they were going through some things, you'd see his interviews and he'd just puff up a little bit more and a little bit more there, Pickles. So anyways, Howard Stern, he was talking to his staff here. I forgot that lady's name, Pickles. It's been with him for 150 years. Robin. Yeah, Robin. Great movie, but I know he's a little nuts nowadays. He's a little off the cuff. He's a little crazy when it comes to, I think he's got like 6 COVID shots and he's got COVID and he's all ticked off about that. He works 3 days a week now. He's more out there than he really has been. But he said something interesting earlier this week, and an awful announcement. The website picked up on it, and I heard about it, about this Peacock thing, and I'm going to play him and his staff talking about Peacock charging the fans here, wanting you to go to a streaming service for a playoff game. We talked about this the other day. I'm glad bigger outlets would do this. If us in the podcasting world, myself, John Restano, all the Northeast streaming sports people, if we said we're going to boycott these games here, and we're going to put a social media hashtag don't watch, don't watch, because the NFL's doing nothing but gouging the general public at this point. They're robbing for people. They want you to pay, and I already had Amazon Prime, but I've watched some of the Thursday games on Amazon Prime. Then the mother effers turn around and put commercials on. So you're charging me twice here. And that's because we, the people, let this crap happen. We have to come together and teach the NFL a lesson here. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let's play this here. This is from the Howard Stern show earlier this week, talking about the NFL playoff game on that Peacock channel.
Yes, I paid $350 for the ticket, so that's a lot of money put out. I already paid for Prime so I can get the Thursday night games, and now you're asking me to pay another $6 for one playoff?
Yeah, so that's one of the guests. He's talking about the game day ticket, which you can get on YouTube now. Listen to this again. It's a little bit quicker here. It's one of the guests here on the Howard Stern show talking about how they just keep gouging and gouging and gouging. Let me play that again so you all can catch that.
Yes, I paid $350 for the ticket, so that's a lot of money put out. I already paid for Prime so I can get the Thursday night games, and now you're asking
Amazon.
me to pay another $6 for one playoff game?
They're going to the well too many times. At some point, the fans will rebel. They will.
Well, what's happening is the NFL and a few of these other sports franchises are the ticket. They really are the ticket to get money out of people's pockets. And so every one of those streaming services is trying to get engaged with sports.
Well, you can always do what I do. Just don't watch any of these games. Fuck them.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Listen on the app.
Sorry about that language there, but and they go on.
The most powerful thing about sports is that you got to watch it live. It's one of the few programming entities now where you need to see it live. And as a result, a lot of these places, they know it, and they're taking full advantage of that.
And linear TV is shaking in its boots because they're losing that. That is the one thing they had that you couldn't get anywhere else.
I think
Was that in the beginning?
It It was that in news originally, but news, I mean, a long time ago, cable took that over, and now that's gone. But yeah, sports is the one thing at network television where they still get the most popular show on television, Sunday Night Football, year after year, tens of millions of viewers, and other shows just don't pull that kind of rating anymore.
I think this is the beginning of the end, though, because like years ago, you used to watch boxing on TV, and then all of a sudden you can't watch a boxing match of any kind without paying for it. And I think this is going to be the start of paying for games that matter.
Like boxing, and like that gentleman said at the very end, if we allow them to do this, if you pay that, they're going to keep popping you because you're a sucker, Like I said earlier in the program, Arthur Blank, he's the only NFL owner that I know of that does not gouge the customers at the stadium there in Atlanta for refreshments and beers. It's normal prices that you would pay maybe at the grocery store or something, maybe it's slightly higher, but it's not $8-10 for a beer or hot dog for $12, $15, $20. Some ridiculous just gouge, like that guy said, you want to be paying like it's boxing and pay-per-view, If we started a boycott here, podcasters around the country on the social media with the phones, we could make a serious dent in that. And I think media outlets, especially people with big audiences, big microphones, like a Howard Stern. Now, you're not going to get your Colin Cowherds. That's a conflict of interest. You're not going to get anybody from ESPN. That's a conflict of interest. But you could get Barstool. You could get Sports Scope. Jason Whitlock, his show there. You could get some of the smaller, because he talked about boycotting the Super Bowl because of some of the inappropriate halftime shows, putting all these rappers and all that stuff. But that doesn't. But when you gouge, and this is still America's game. Remember that they America's game. That's what you see on the little promo on the NFL Network. You see that. But if you boycott the playoff games, it's the last straw. Like even Howard Stern said, and I didn't. I thought about it. Of some lady put something. She was like on the TikTok app. She was probably in her 70s, and she went really put a really good post out about how that's the last straw with her, the Peacock charging people for playoff games, And I got to thinking about that Saturday because I know I mentioned Friday, hey, I might order that. Then I got thinking, but no, that's not right. This is still a blue collar, working class sport here that's taking advantage of the common fan here. And a lot of these people, we just can't afford this stuff. We couldn't afford Amazon, But now you're wanting to do the playoffs. Eventually, they want to gouge you and charge you $59 to watch the Super Bowl, So, but enough of these small outlets here. And quite frankly, I would love for some of the radio stations to get involved. But it's too much conflict of interest. Only way it would work is people on social media like Instagram, even Facebook. Now they've suspended me, but the X app here, just get enough of the everyday people here. Now it's a little late now. These contracts have already been set. I don't think, in air quotes, I do not think any of these games are going to be streamed out for now till we've got the divisional games this weekend, and we've got the the AFC, NFC. Obviously, we get championships next week, and of course, 2 weeks later, we've got the Super Bowl. I don't think that, but for next year, that's something that I think we should talk about. And I've got friends here and other podcasters, Dan Dave Harris, God bless his heart, rest in peace. He had a big podcast network that was growing. He would have been a good contact for that. But I can ask Keith Fangle and Mac and John McGraw, John and Linda from the Northeast Streaming to start talking about this and spreading that for next year and into the off season and put a stop to that. If we can make a dent in that revenue and really start those hashtags here to strike these NFL games here, where they just got, we're in the middle of not a recession, but inflation, everything, and it's like they're going to keep going because we're letting it to happen. If you get enough people to say we're not going to do this, even if it's like 1%, 5%, you know what? I tell you what, it got their attention when people stopped watching, when people were protesting the American the flag and everything, because a lot of the talk shows, conservative talk and everything, it started to create a buzz here. It really started to create. So they stopped that crap. The NFL, they stopped showing them national anthem. Then they started changing the rules and stuff. So you start pushing at them about, hey, this is enough here. Okay, you're making a lot of money. We know what that works. They're paying you hundreds of millions. We know what the salaries are. How much more money do you need, folks? How much more money do you need off the working class in this country and even around the world? And of course, I've got some people around the world that watch this program that are big NFL fans. Nigel from Australia. Okay, so it's a working class sport, man. It's a working class sport. You have to stand up to these people and really put a dent in the bottom line. And I think it will work if small podcasts like mine all got together and really started pushing that. Particularly, again, Dave Portnoy, my man. Now, of course, Clay now sold his website to Fox, but Dave Portnoy owns Barstool. Barstool would be a really good partner for something like that. Because he owns Barstool 100% now, Dave. And I would hope that he would do something like that. And they make millions. John Rostano. I got the YouTube, and I don't really have a favorite history chat. Yeah, I hear you, Chad. John and from Spitballing. I'm tired of them people. It's just a little bit farther and a little bit farther. They're going to start talking about this over the spring into the summer when the schedule comes out and ahead of time. And I'm going to start getting with some of my guys, and we need to start talking about it. Maybe come up with a day that we'll just, the weeks leading up to the game, don't watch party or something, So anyways, not to beat a dead horse, but, if we don't fight back, they'll just keep running over us. If you don't stand up to the bully, things will happen. Okay, switching gears here. Let's talk about the game itself, okay? Lions. The Lions, I know that was a close game. I picked the Rams to win. That was a 1-point game. Puka Nacua, great game. Puka got mugged a couple times. Towards the end of the game, he got mugged. And Detroit, it was in Detroit. They earned it, but it was a home call. They let it go. They let it go. And I know that there was some cheap shots that they got on Matt Stafford. That being said, 24-23, what is that with the final score there? Detroit wins. But here's what I caught about that game. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was that was his first game back. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's been out most of the year. He was a free agent pickup there from Philadelphia. He was a big, and this guy, I think he led the league in interceptions last year. Big free agent pickup. Got hurt early in the season, got his legs back somewhat, made some plays last Sunday night, okay? Made some plays last Sunday night. And listen, not just to mention Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at safety, a lot of this in the NFL, it's battle of attrition. Who's the healthiest? You know, who is the healthiest here? You know, Sam Laporta, I didn't think he was going to play last week. He had a pretty bad looking knee injury. You say the word knee and you start to get a little paranoid as a fan, realize that usually that's not good. The guy's not going to come back. Well, he came back and played. He didn't have a huge game. He scored a touchdown. He ended up playing last week, got a touchdown, like 3 catches, 14 yards. Now, Cleve Raymond is now he'll be questionable, but looking up and down this defense, and again, like I said, if they win last week, it's because of one guy, Aiden Hutchinson, getting after Matt Stafford, and he did. He was on him. He's their TJ Watt. You know, I'm sure Jacksonville fans somewhere are looking at that game thinking, man, why did we get this other guy who's done nothing? Remember, because they had the number 1 pick that year. Detroit got the better player. They got the better player in Aiden Hutchinson, who was like a house of fire back there, you know. So, you know, Hutchinson's back. Healthy. Nothing's came up. Cameron Sutton, Brian Branch, that's a cornerback there. And you've got the safety play there. And Brian Branch is playing corner, but he could play safety as well. Cameron Sutton there at corner. Kirby Joseph, free safety. So they look good in the middle, and that's been one of their biggest bugaboos all year long, has been that secondary. Linebacker play, Jack Campbell, also a rookie. Just knocked it out of the park there. And I wish I had that soundbite of was it Matt Campbell, whatever, bringing in Dan Campbell, bringing in the general manager and saying, listen, man, you are really, let me give you a game ball, brother. So he gives him a hug. It's very emotional. And obviously we saw, fans crying in the stands and stuff. But listen, they played Sunday night. They're playing Tampa this week. They're playing Tampa this week. I went back because I was trying to make sure I had my P's and Q's in a row here. We know Tampa played the next night. They played on Monday night. Good game by Tampa. Really like Todd Bowles. Whole new respect for Todd Bowles. If you didn't listen to yesterday's show, a lot of people liked my show yesterday. Go back and listen. Big respect for Todd Bowles. Never playing the victim card. Love Todd Bowles. But that being said, these two teams played back in October. Okay. They played at Tampa back in October, and Detroit went down there and beat them 20-6. Went down there and beat them 20-6. That was in Tampa. Now they've got some of this secondary back. And even if they bring in Sam Laporta as a decoy, now Cleve Raymond's still questionable. We could be talking about the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game 1 week from Sunday. Say that out loud. Has Hades frozen over? And of course, I think they're a touchdown. Yeah, they're 6.5 point favorites here. to win. And I think they'll handle business. I think Hutchinson will chew up Baker. He'll be on him like a cheap suit. Listen, the Rams have been playing great football. 6 of 7, almost had the Ravens beat at Baltimore. I'm going to talk about them in a minute, by the way. Had the Ravens beat at Baltimore. Big wins, beat the 49ers late. The Niners had some guys out, but still playing really good football, that Ram team. I thought they were going to win. So the Detroit Lions in the NFC, who would have thought? Who would have thought that the Detroit Lions could be and should be, and I'll pick this game tomorrow. I'm bleeding Detroit big time. I can't really tell you any reason why I wouldn't, other than Tampa. Now we're finding out how good the Green Bay is. Tampa went up there and beat Green Bay in Green Bay. They went up to Minnesota when they were healthy, beat them up there in Minnesota in week 1. Anything's possible when you got playmakers like that. I don't think, judging by the way they played earlier this year and where they're playing now, pending on Goff folding like a cheap suit in that defense for Tampa playing over their head and causing some turnovers. I mean, anything can happen. Anything can happen, but I think they're going to play well, and we're going to be talking about them and the we're going to be talking about possibly the Lions in the NFC Championship game. Yeah, Matt New Yorker Chavez had Tampa win the division. He called them a dark horse. I thought they would be practically a lottery pick if they were in the NBA. I thought they'd be picking high in the draft. Way off by that. Kudos to Todd Bowles and that staff there, and even Mayfield. But listen, again, like this little story, I still say that team reminds me of that 2010 Seattle team, like we talked about on Tuesday, that just won a bad division. They got a home game, and they got the win. They got the win. Now, just like that team beat a pretty good Saints team, 11-5 Saints team when they were 7-9. They didn't even have a 500 record. But hey, it's the 12th man. Matt Hasselbeck. And this was before Russell Wilson, like a year before he was drafted. You had beast mode there. The defense was starting to come together. That kind of reminded me of that. That's who this Tampa team reminds me of. Now, listen to this one. Houston's 9.5-point underdogs to Baltimore. They played earlier this year. Matter of fact, they played so early, it was the very first game of the season when Houston played out Baltimore. Here's a little tidbit for you. I'm not picking the games. I'm just doing a preview. I'm trying to get more of my analysis in because I want to give Carlos some time to talk tomorrow. But Lamar Jackson, who, by the way, did not play in week 17 or week 18. He didn't play this last week. That was a playoff game. So he's been off 2 weeks. Okay, this will all make sense here in just a second. In week 1, same defense at home against Houston. In week 1, Lamar Jackson, 1 interception, no passing touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns against a rookie quarterback here. Now, they beat them 25-9. Stroud, that's very first game as a starter in the regular season. They beat them 25-9. Game seemed a little closer than that. Seemed a little bit closer than that. Marlon Humphrey, their best corner, the Ravens' best corner, will not play in this game. It's still a long shot that Mark Andrews is going to play. He's come back off of that the IR, but there's still a bit of a long shot to play, according to John Harbaugh. That 9.5, this game, I think, is the first game. We can go back and see here. I want to say it's the very first game that's going to be played Saturday, Pickles, and it's going to be a pretty good one. It's going to be a good one, I don't know if they beat them by 9.5. If they don't jump on the Ravens, yeah, this game will be Saturday, 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern. Love those 3:30 games. Love those Saturday games when they in the playoffs. They always seem to be hyped. But we're talking 9.5 points according to FanDuel. If the Ravens don't jump on them early with the defense and the running game, if this game is just kind of leveled out, Stroud is 10 times the passer he's been. Mind you, Houston, in the regular season, we're talking October now, were demolished at home by the Colts. Demolished. Still somewhat earlier in the season. Houston went to the Colts 2 weeks ago, playoff game like Atmosphere, took care of business. I mean, first play of the game, touchdown, Nico Collins from Stroud, okay? We know what happened. They handled the Colts, okay? They come back home on the short week. They played Saturday instead of Sunday. They come back home on a Saturday, and I red hot Cleveland Browns team give the players a week off. Terrible game plan. Either way, they beat the Browns 45-14. It is what it is. Pass rush playing well. Stroud playing loose. They're playing with a boatload of confidence. This is not going to be the blowout, I don't think. This is not going to be the blowout, everybody. If it is, we'll know early. It's not going to be a game where Houston's playing and then the Ravens pull away. If it's a blowout, I predict it'll be turnovers by Houston early and Baltimore jumping on it and running in. But if this game is a steady game, again, same defense, better defense, although Will Anderson hasn't practiced much. I think he's going to play. I think this was precautionary because he didn't practice much last week, and he played last week. But that's their pass rusher rookie there. But this team is playing on house money. They're young, and they don't care. They're house money. That means they're going to be playing loose. The Ravens, on the other hand, they're the number 1 seed. Everybody's talking about them. It's their Super Bowl to lose. They're the big favorites. They blew out the 49ers. They blew out the Dolphins the very next week. This game could be remember the last time they were the number 1 seed? They played the Titans, and the Titans went up there and handled them like 28-14 or something like that. Got way up early in that game, and Lamar. Now that was Lamar earlier in his career. You know, he was only in his second year. They were 14-2, but teams that they've played 2 playoff games. Essentially, I mean, that Colt game was a playoff game. This game's obviously the Browns was a playoff game. If Houston gets a fast start, this could be a major upset Sunday. Pickles thinks it could be within 4 to 6 points. I think so. I think that's a good play there. Houston plus 9.5. Over and under is 43.5. So there's a respect factor for the Houston defense right off the bat. The Ravens have been killing people. They scored 50-something points on the Dolphins. But they're looking at this Houston team and Dallas or Vegas is saying, listen, the over and under here is 43.5. It's like they know something, right? Okay, so a little food for thought there. Okay, now the Packers playing Green Bay, playing the 49ers. Some people are saying because the Packers beat the Cowboys 48, put 48 points on them, that maybe they will against the 49ers. Now, the 49ers, I've got some stats here on them as well. The 49ers in the past have had games where they've teed off on on Matt LaFleur and this Green Bay team. Now, Matt LaFleur is 2-1 in the regular season. One of those games, they caught the 49ers with a bunch of injuries. And Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, really good hookup in that game. But the 49ers are 3-1. 3-1 or they're 2-0 in the postseason. The 49ers too, including a total blowout. We know about that one. That was the championship game then back in 2019. Christian McCaffrey had a strained calf week before the end of the season. Full practice all week. Full practice all week. This ain't going to be like the Cowboys. I think that he'll play well. Now, Dre Greenlaw, one of their linebackers is questionable. They did have a cornerback that they put on IR. Possibly young team. Jordan Love could get hot, but I could see Green Bay or 49ers getting off to a slow start and still winning this game. Because they're not going to be like Dallas and be pass happy. Between Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, who, by the way, again, does not have an injury destination, I think they're going to be running the ball pretty well against Green Bay come Sunday. And again, Kyle Shanahan, 2-0 in the postseason against Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. That being said, hey, they rested players too. They rested play, and it's 9.5. It's 9.5. I have a little bit. Yeah, Zay Flowers is playing pretty well. And Pickle says, yeah, so C-Mac should play well. You know, the Bible says, lean on the Lord and not your own understanding. Lean on Christian McCaffrey and not your. And that's what I'm doing. It's when you come off these bye weeks, the quarterbacks sometimes their timing's off. You're going to overthrow a player. You're going to underthrow. Well, Kyle Shanahan, he's going to say, look at that. I'm going to tell you how to handle this. We'll use some Deebo Samuel out of the backfield with the jet sweep. We'll throw a bubble screen here, a 2-yard bubble screen here to Christian McCaffrey with a healthy Trent Williams out there, best left tackle in football out there, blocking out front. So I think they're going to play well. I think they're going to run rough shot and play well tomorrow. But I'll give you I'll give you a score tomorrow when we talk to Carlos Madden, New Yorker Chavez. And, of course, probably the game of the week is Kansas City, Buffalo. Buffalo, 2.5-point favorites. Buffalo's won the last two times they played. Buffalo won. They won this year, and then they won 24-20 at Kansas. Both of them at Kansas City. Now, this game is at Buffalo. Buffalo's got a flood of injuries at the linebacker position. That's my concern about Buffalo. They've got Terrell Dobson, questionable. Tyree Dobson. Terrell Bernard, questionable. Taron Johnson, cornerback, questionable. Rasheed Douglas, questionable. Now you still got Ross New, you got L. Oliver, you got Daquan Jones. That's your front three guys. They may have possibly their second receiver back, but I'm not really worried about Gabriel Davis anyways. I like this Shakur guy, Tupac Shakur, whatever, the alpha receiver that they brought in. But also I like the two tight ends there with Buffalo. They're two tight ends. I thought I had their Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. So that's my biggest issue. And, of course, Ladarius Sneed. Now, that's the lead corner there. That is the lead corner there for Kansas City. But other than that, Donovan Smith, that whole offensive line healthy, Kels healthy, Trey Smith, so that could go Kansas City just because they're healthier. And remember, Buffalo got snowed out. Buffalo's game got pushed back to Monday. And remember, Kansas City played on Saturday. So Kansas City could get in the AFC Championship game. And you look at that and you think to yourself, well, if Baltimore could win this game against Houston, I don't see Kansas City making it. I think Baltimore will be able to get in. And if Houston wins, if Houston for whatever wins and Kansas City wins, no rookie quarterback has ever led his team to a Super Bowl. Second year, yes. Dan Marino, we've talked about that before. Tom Brady, those groups. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this show up. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez here. It looks like I've lost my signal on the Instagram thing. That's so annoying. Well, I'll give you a score here, but I'm just telling you, there is a lot of possibility of an upset coming in any of these games. I thought maybe more from Tampa. Tampa would have to be injuries in the game. Fluke turnovers by Jared Goff, which we've seen before. Green Bay could upset. They could, Jordan Love will have to play excellent football. They could upset the Niners, but I just think the Niners are not the Cowboys. They're just going to run till the dad takes the T-Bird away, right, Pickles? So either way, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a better look at where these injuries are the closer we get to game day. And if you like the show, please share the show. I'm on limited networks now, so we need to share it as much as possible. So thank you, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.